Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Can everybody hear me? Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya'i wal-Mursaleen. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima tu'allimuna وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. Bismillah. So today, inshallah, we're going to have a quick introduction to Laylatul Qadr, if we can. And we're all waiting for some questions to come in, so please do feel free to ask questions at any time. And I'll try and answer them if they're relevant, inshallah. So what is Laylatul Qadr? That's the first question. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Qadr, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ سَلَامٌ هِيَ حَتَّى مَطْلَعِ الْفَجْرِ. Indeed, we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak with the royal we. This is a tremendous great thing. We have sent the Quran down, ayat down during the month of worth, Laylatul Qadr. And what can make you know what is the Laylatul Qadr? Allah is asking a rhetorical question, as if it's such a great thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he himself couldn't even think of a way to convey to you. Obviously hypothetical, hyperbole. The Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. Right, so 100 years. The angels and the spirit, i.e. Sayyidina Jibreel, descend therein بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ, by permission of the Lord for every matter. سَلَامٌ هِيَ حَتَّى مَطْلَعِ الْفَجْرِ. Peace it is until the emergence of dawn. So this is a tremendous night of the year. There's a verse of the surah of the Quran specifically dedicated to this. And so what is this thing? We know it is better than 1,000 nights. We know that the angels and the spirits in the Jibreel descend this night. But what is it? First of all, what does it mean, Laylatul Qadr in Arabic? Laylatul Qadr does not mean the night of power. Right? That's Laylatul Qudra. Qudra is power, omnipotence. So it doesn't mean, that's not what it means. And so Qadr means an amount or a portion. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to sending down the water bi-qadr, in a particular amount, in a particular exacting amount. Qadr is also predestination. We believe in qada and qadr. Right? It's also the worth of something. Something that is its worth, it's qadr. Right? Ma qadarullaha haqqa qadrihi. They didn't judge Allah in his true worth. Right? And so what does it mean? It means this time of this night of tremendous worth, of tremendous value in Allah's eyes, and for us, inshallah ta'ala, when predestination, so as to speak, is like downloaded or applied to this world. The predestination doesn't change. It's not like it's being applied to this world that we live in. It happens at this point. And so in Sahih Bukhari, whoever stands in prayer on the night of worth, believing in Allah and seeking a reward from Him, all his sins will be forgiven. All his minor sins will be forgiven, and if he repents, all his major sins will be forgiven as well. So it's a tremendous opportunity to be forgiven. Imam Ahmad narrates from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, "The angels on earth on that night are as many as the stones on earth." When it says تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ, the angels descend. How many angels? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands upon millions. And so, okay, what's the significance of an angel being there? Is that they make dua for you, that they bring with them barakah, that they guide you to what's right, that they are beloved in Allah's eyes, and so their du'as are accepted. Ibn Majah narrates, indeed, this month has come to you. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, this month has come to you, and in it is one night that is better than 1,000 months. I.e., this month of Ramadan has come to you, and in it there is Laylatul Qadr, and it's better than 1,000 months. Whoever is barred from it is barred from all good entirely, and no one is barred from it save somebody truly barred. Right? And so, i.e., there's something seriously wrong with you if you don't have the barakah of this night. Right? And the Prophet even made dua against somebody like this. And so it's a tremendous. There's a tremendous night in which there was a tremendous benefit to be forgiven for one's sins, to increase in the barakah in one's provision in this world, and in one's spiritual provision, in one's taqwa, etc. And this is what this night's about. And Az-Zamakhshari, in his tafsir, he says, Laylatul Qadr means the night in which all matters are determined and decreed. As in the verse, in it are all فِيهَا يُفْرَقُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ. In it are all wise matters distinguished. It has also been said that it has been called thus due to its great significance. So Laylatul Qadr, i.e. from determination, decree, from Qadr. And also it has been said that due to its great significance and nobility over all nights. Okay, this was Zamakhshari says in his tafsir. Ibn Ajiba in his tafsir, later scholar, he says, distinguished, all matters are distinguished, means that all the matters of the slaves, I mean you, are provisioned when they will die, and all their matters are specified, written from this night to the following Laylatul Qadr. So it's already preordained. We already know it's already preordained. When you die, it's already preordained. All these things, but it's, so to speak, is downloaded, is put into the system of this dunya at this point, right? And so, what does that mean? It means at that point, we have the fact that one is in a position of is in a scenario where Allah loves one and values what you're doing, meaning worshipping Him, etc. This means that it will actually be changed, because the Prophet ﷺ told us that nothing can hold back predestination apart from dua. Speaking metaphorically, because obviously dua is part of predestination, but it's part of the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shapes predestination, that He sends it to us in a certain way, that we are a part of it, and that if we meet it in the proper state, then it is increased for us, and it is in our advantage. So that's Laylatul Qadr. When is Laylatul Qadr? So we already know that on this night we have to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have to be doing what's good, and that will affect what will happen for the next year. But when is this night? And so in reality, Laylatul Qadr is hidden. We don't know when Laylatul Qadr is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hidden many, many, many things from us. He's hidden His good deeds. Which good deeds is it that are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't actually know what they are. And so therefore we always try and do lots of different good deeds. We persist on certain good deeds, but we always try and do more and more good deeds because we don't know exactly which good deed it is that we do. Is it the fact, for example, that you work properly at work? Is it the fact that, for example, you make this certain dua? Is it the fact that, for example, you gave money to this particular person in charity? Is it the way that you smile to grandma? What is it exactly that Allah loves? We don't know. The special thing that is more beloved to Allah than anything else, we don't know what that is. Bad deeds. We try and avoid all sorts of bad deeds, all sorts of offensive deeds as well, because we don't know which of them Allah hates the most. We don't know that you do one small bad thing, you don't realize that could actually be more hatred to Allah than anything else. A particular bad word, and you don't even realize it. Close ones. We don't know who are the closest people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We obviously know the prophets are closest, and we know the Sahaba after them, but the people after that, who around us today are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't know. So just because so-and-so gives a talk in a mosque, or so-and-so answers questions online, doesn't make them necessarily close to Allah. There could be other people who are closer to Allah that nobody knows about. Right? These people are hidden. So many special times. There's a particular, Prophet ﷺ said, there's a particular moment on Jummah that your dua is also answered. When is that moment? We don't know exactly when it is. This Laylatul Qadr is hidden. Right? There are certain times that we now know that Ramadan in general is special, etc. But there are many times we don't know. And in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said, I came out to tell you when Laylatul Qadr was. And so and so and so and so started fighting. The Prophet ﷺ was told when Laylatul Qadr was. And he came out to tell the Sahaba, and two of the Sahaba started arguing and fighting, so it was lifted up, it was taken away from the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ no longer knew where when it was. And the Prophet ﷺ said, it may well be that it is better for you. The fact that it's hidden, it's actually better for you, because now you're going to say, well, okay, it might be 27th. Okay, I was on 27th now, it might be 28th, might be 29th, might be before that, right? In fact, it might be any time of the year, right? Now, however, it's most likely in the last 10 days of Ramadan. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is going to do retreat with me, let him do so in the last 10 days. I was shown this night, and then I was made to forget it. Seek it in the odd nights of the last 10 days. Right? In the odd nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan. So that means what? The 19th, 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th. Okay? And that's in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. In Tabarani, the Prophet ﷺ said, look for it in the last half. So that means it could have even been a few days ago. Right? The last half of Ramadan. So it's possibly in the 19th, 20th, etc., or the whole, any part of the last half of Ramadan. Ubay ibn Ka'b and others, they used to do the qunut in witr in the last half of Ramadan. This is the position of the Shafi'i school, is that you don't do qunut in witr apart from the last half of Ramadan. Why? Probably because Laylatul Qadr is one of those days. You make a particular dua, the last prayer of the night, and with hope that it's going to be answered. 17th, 21st, and 23rd. Abu Dawood, narrating from the Prophet ﷺ, seek it on the 17th of Ramadan, the 21st and the 23rd. Right? So here in Jordan, tomorrow night is going to be, I believe, the 27th. So that means it's already gone past. Seek it on the 17th of Ramadan, the 21st, and the 23rd. Right? So this is the spirit here then of persisting in that state of being pleased, trying to be exposing oneself to Allah's pleasure, such that one might find this night. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the Sahabi, he said, if it's not on the 17th, and then or the 21st or the 23rd, then it's on the 19th. Right? So he added the 19th there as well. So 17th, 19th, 21st, and 23rd. Tabarani relates to the weak transmission. It says, search for Laylatul Qadr on the 17th, 19th, 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th, and 29th. Right? Which is the 17th on the odd nights. Right? Which is kind of agrees with the first position and agrees with the third position as well. Right? And then the last 10 days. And it was once on the 23rd, and the Prophet ﷺ said, search for it tonight. It's narrated by Imam Ahmad and Imam Tahawi. And Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, the great Sahabi, as narrated by Ibn Abi Shayba, he said, Laylatul Qadr is the 23rd. That was the position of Sayyidina Muawiyah. Ibn Umar, he said, whoever wants to look for it, let him look for it on the 27th. It's narrated by Abdul Razzaq San'ani from Sayyidina Ibn Umar. And there are other positions as well, that it's the 24th, that it's the 30th. 30th, why? Because it's the last time. Right? Just like many scholars, they say that the moment on Jummah, the dua is answered, is at the very end of it. Right? And that the very last day of Ramadan, that is the day of Laylatul Qadr. Right? So what does it mean? Nights going forward, some of us is the 25th tonight, some of us the 26th, some of us is the 27th going on. So these last days, it could be any night. Allahu A'lam. So according to Abu Bakr ibn Arabi al-Qadi, Abu Bakr ibn Arabi, great Maliki and Andalusian scholar, he said the correct position is that it cannot be known. We do not know when it is. He said that's the if you look, yes, we find people saying it's this day or that date, but in reality it cannot be known. It's been hidden and that's it, full stop. Now Imam Nawawi said no, that's not true. He came after him and said, no, many hadiths have indicated that it can be known. Right? That it can be known. And that's what happened in reality with Imam Nawawi himself, is that when he was a young boy, he woke up in the middle of the night and he asked, he said, Mummy and Daddy, why is the room full of light? And they couldn't see the light, and they realized this boy had found Laylatul Qadr. Ibn Malik, the great grammarian, when he left Muslim Spain and he came to Damascus, he left the Maliki school and became Shafi'i. And in his poem on grammar, the Alfiya, he mentioned the example, وَرَجُلٌ مِنَ الْكِرَامِ عِنْدَنَا. He says, a man of the nobles is among us, referring to Imam al-Nawawi. So, Allahu A'lam. Ibn Arabi, the Sufi, he says it actually moves. That's why it can't be known. So it can be known, but the thing is it will move. So you could find it, but then next year it's not going to be at the same time. So Ibn Arabi, he says, I've seen it in Sha'ban, once on the 15th and once on the 19th. And twice I have seen it in the middle 10 nights of Ramadan, the 13th and the 18th. And I've seen it on every odd night of the last 10. For this reason, I am certain that it moves over all nights throughout the year, but it comes mostly in Ramadan. Right, so Ibn Arabi was of the position that it actually moves. So what does that mean? That means that you're not going to say, well, okay, I'm going to go to the mosque on the 27th of Ramadan and then I'll come back next year. No. It means that, we have to be, in the mode, so to speak, throughout the whole year. And this is also the position of Shah Wali Allah Dahlawi, the great Hadith and Hanafi Faqih of the late Hanafi school in India. He was also the position that actually moves. And this is what we've heard from Shaykh Nuh Kala and Shaykh Habib Umar as well. Is that once I can remember Habib Umar was coming through Jordan and he was going on Umrah, and it was the night before the 27th. And Shaykh Nuh was a bit surprised, like, why are you traveling tonight when it's going to be Laylatul Qadr tonight? He said, do you hold the position that it moves? He said, yes, we do hold that position as well. Is that they also believe that it moves around. And so what's the point? So race ahead to do good deeds. So the point is we have to keep going and make sure that we just hasten to do good deeds. What does it mean? It means hasten to have a good schedule, right? And as the ulama say, man laysa lahu wird wala ird fahuwa qird. Whoever doesn't have a regular practice of good deeds that he does day in and day out, every night there's a little bit of tahajjud. Every day you do some Quran, you do some dhikr, etc. Every day, so you're always in that mode. And you always, before Fajr comes in, you're always making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that who knows, it might be Laylatul Qadr. And doesn't have any self-respect, that doesn't have any jealousy over his husband or wife, doesn't have any jealousy of his own body, like people just do things to him and doesn't even care. For huwa qird, then he's a monkey, right? And so you have to have these two things. One of them is you have a regular practice. That's something you can actually do with your work and your family and schedule, that you always have something going in your life. Right? Question from Riyaz: Where is there no night for 6 months? What is to be done? Do you mean when? When there is no night for 6 months, what is to be done? Oh, in the scenario where there's no night at all, because there's no Isha. Then Allahu Alam. Allah is more generous than the sun's rising and setting. So in a place where there's no sun, where the sun doesn't even set right now, then it's just as there's still a prayer, there's still an Isha prayer, there's still a Fajr prayer, etc. There's still, there's still, inshallah, Laylatul Qadr. Right? Okay. So what is to be done on these? What is to be done on these nights? So number one, Taraweeh and Tahajjud. So assuming that it's in Ramadan, we're going to be praying Taraweeh, which is 20 rakahs, and then pray Tahajjud. The default is Tahajjud is prayed after sleeping. And this is also the Sunnah in the Shafi school with Taraweeh, is that the default is you pray Isha and you go to sleep, and you wake up and pray Taraweeh. Right? And pray Taraweeh and Tahajjud. And so that's the default. Now, if in your mosque, where the closest mosque, they're going to pray Taraweeh straight after Isha, then you do that, pray Taraweeh in the mosque with Jama'ah, and then go to sleep and pray Tahajjud. Sometimes, particularly right now, because we're in the summer, the night is so short, you don't have time to sleep. And so, it's a bit different. So, for example, and we'll see as well that the issue of sleeping does not necessarily apply in the last 10 days. And so in Bukhari, whoever stands in prayer on the night of worth, believing in Allah and seeking reward from Him, all his sins will be forgiven. So that's number one, praying. So qama means to stand in prayer, specifically. Okay, so that's taraweeh and tahajjud. And making dua, right? The Prophet ﷺ said nothing withholds predestination save dua. So you make dua, oh Allah, forgive me, oh Allah, give me rizq that's halal and it's good for me, give me taqwa, give me sincerity, give me a solid deen. Interaction with verses of the Quran. So we hear the word Jannah, and in our heart we make dua for that thing. We hear the word nar, the hellfire. We seek protection from Allah, etc. So we have to have some kind of notice of what's going on. Day after as well. So the following day as well. So here in Jordan, we're going to have, Friday night will be our Laylatul Qadr. So inshallah, Saturday as well, we try and do acts of worship as well. Right? And I believe it's Aisha radiallahu anha, excuse me. She asked the Prophet ﷺ, if I find Laylatul Qadr, what should I say in it? And the Prophet ﷺ said, in particular dua, oh Allah, indeed you are forgiving, and you love to forgive, so forgive me. So we should be saying this every night of Ramadan, because who knows, it might be Laylatul Qadr. So that dua, Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Oh Allah, indeed you are forgiving and you love to forgive, so forgive me. And afu is actually more than maghfirah. Usually we say Allahumma maghfirli. That means to cover over something. Mighfar is a helmet that you wear in battle. It covers over your head. Jammun ghafir is a large group of people that cover the land. The afu is to erase something. Afa anhu zaman, it's been covered over and gone. It's been erased by time and wind, etc. Right? So making dua, interaction with the verses, a dua day as well. And this particular dua for forgiveness, Yahya ibn Mu'adh al-Razi and the great early Muslims, he said, had forgiveness not been the most beloved thing to him, he wouldn't have tried with sins the most cherished of people to him. Right? Had it not been that the Prophet, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved to forgive people, he wouldn't have given sins to people that he loves. So, right? Because the whole point is that he forgives those people. Right? So it's part and parcel of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we fall on our nose. It's not part and parcel of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we stubbornly resolve to keep disobeying him. The point is we really want to obey him and we're trying our best, but we fall on our nose. Right? That's the kind of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives. But someone who just says, well, I'm just going to do it anyway, then that's not what we're talking about. So that's that. So also to pray all night in the last 10 days. The default is in the Sharia, we're not supposed to pray all night every night. But in the last 10 days, it is sunnah. Right, in Sahih Muslim, in the last 10 days, the Prophet Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would tighten his belt, give life to the night, pray all night, and wake up his family. And there's a weak narration of the same hadith, give life to the whole night. Right? So usually the Prophet wouldn't do that. And obviously when we say pray all night, not everybody can do that. Okay, you say Laylatul Qadr is on a Thursday, I've got to go to work on a Friday. So what am I supposed to do? Pray all night and then go to work and fall asleep at my desk? No. So Sa'id ibn Musayyib, the great early tabi'een, the son-in-law of Abu Hurairah, he said, as narrated by Imam Malik, whoever prays Isha in a group has taken his share of it. Okay? And so the point is, it's not everything or nothing. It's whatever you can do practically. So to pray all night, to wake up family for prayer. So in Sahih Muslim in the last 10 days, So and he will give life to the night and wake up his family. The family members, wake them up for prayer. And Tabarani, in the last 10 days, the Prophet ﷺ would wake the old and young of his family who were able to pray. And then what else? And to tighten one's belt. Mentions he would tighten his belt. What does that mean exactly? So some scholars mean tighten his belt is just a phrase which means to roll up your sleeves and get pretty serious. Right? You get really serious and do more in those last 10 days than you would do normally. Right? And others have explained it, no, tighten his belt meaning abstain from sexual intercourse, meaning on those last 10 days he would be busy with worship and wouldn't sleep with any of his wives. You have the phrase in Arabic, so that the tighten your mi'zar. Mi'zar is the thing that's around your izar, your like a lungi thing that you have that ties kind of you wrap around, and it's possible that it means that to do with abstaining from intercourse, because you refer to someone as izar. Your izar is your lungi. So someone who says tahir al izar, he's clean of izar, meaning he's chaste. I mean, he doesn't sleep with people he's not supposed to be sleeping with. Allahu alam. Delaying iftar. So the default is we should be doing that iftar immediately. As soon as you know that it's Maghrib, you should break your fast. Ibn Abi Asim narrates on, he has a book on fasting. This book is lost, as much of our heritage is lost. He had a book that narrates hadiths on fasting. He said, in Ramadan, the Messenger of Allah would stand in prayer and sleep. Would stand in prayer and sleep. I.e., generally, he doesn't pray the whole night. But when the last 10 days came, he would tighten his belt, abstain from women, make ghusl between the two adhans, and make his iftar a sahur. So you pray, making ghusl. This is a sunnah in the Shafi school between Maghrib and Isha to make ghusl in every night of Ramadan, and to make his iftar a sahur. What exactly does that mean? Tabarani narrates a similar thing as well, with a weak chain of transmission. In the last 10 days of Ramadan, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ would fold up his bed, avoid women, meaning wouldn't sleep with his wives, and make his iftar a sahur. So what does that exactly mean? And so the default, as you'd imagine, is that instead of breaking his fast at Maghrib and then eating before Fajr, instead of doing that, he would just have sahur. So Allahu Alam, maybe he had a very, very light iftar. Right? We know the Prophet ﷺ told us to break a fast immediately. So Allahu Alam. Maybe it means you just break your fast with water, which is fine, and then eat a big sahur. Allahu Alam. So delaying iftar, Allah knows best what that means, but the default is we should break our fast immediately. Maybe it just means light. Bathing between Maghrib and Isha, as we mentioned. We mentioned that. At-Tabari, he narrates that he says that they, meaning the early Muslims, used to deem it fit to bathe each night of the last 10 days of Ramadan. Just like we make ghusl on Jumu'ah, same kind of thing to make ghusl on Eid, same kind of thing. Zir ibn Hubaysh, he used to do the ghusl on the 27th, Sahabi. Why? Because thinking it would be Laylatul Qadr. Anas ibn Malik used to do it on the 24th. Right? Ibrahim al-Nakhai used to do that as well. And Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani of the Tabi'een, he used to do it on the 23rd and 24th. Right? And Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he tells us, he said, outward beautification, i.e. washing and smelling nice, is incomplete without inward beautification of repentance and turning to Allah Most High. So those are some of the things to do in the last 10 days. And then i'tikaf, spiritual retreat. So the Prophet ﷺ used to engage in spiritual retreat in the last 10 days of Ramadan until Allah Most High took his soul. Bukhari and Muslim. And in Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ used to engage in spiritual retreat for 10 days each Ramadan. In the year that his soul was taken, he engaged in spiritual retreat for the last 20 days, i.e. after the first 10 days, he was in i'tikaf. Right? And so during i'tikaf, it's a good idea to have a divider, to separate you from other people so that you're just focusing on dhikr, to not engage in too much talk, to not be teaching and learning, just focusing on, unless there's an obligation that you have to learn, but no teaching and learning, and just attend the group prayers. So in the Shafi'i school, it's valid to do spiritual retreat for just a few hours or a few minutes. So you say, well, I have to work myself. I have to work. I've been working probably more in Ramadan than any other time, right? And so what do you do then? You say, well, in the Shafi'i school, it's valid to just go to the mosque and say, I intend to do i'tikaf for 10 minutes. I'm here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just, turn up to the mosque 10 minutes before iftar, and, you sit in the mosque and you just do i'tikaf. It's also a weak but followable position in Shafi'i school that you can just specify it's an area in your house as i'tikaf. Right? So in the scenario where your work is too far to go, so you can just say, well, this little area is my i'tikaf, and I'm going to do i'tikaf, for example, for an hour here, etc. And generally, in the spirit of i'tikaf, we should avoid email and iPhone as much as possible. And Ibn Rajab tells us, says the reality of i'tikaf is the severing of emotional ties from creation in order to connect with the service of the Creator. Right? So your emotional ties, not ties, your emotional ties. So you're still in the world, still here doing things, but when you answered an email before, it was all about, I have to do this, or that's going to do that. Now I'm answering an email to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm starting work to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm answering the phone. I'm driving in my car to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ibn Rajab tells us, he says, the greater one's love, affection, and experiential knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes, the more these states grant their possessor complete unattachment to anything besides Allah Most High in all one's states. It doesn't matter what you're doing, poor or rich, healthy or sick, the more love and affection and so it says experiential knowledge, you can say appreciation, and the more appreciation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you appreciate who Allah is, what He can actually do, what He's done for one, what He could do for one, etc. The more these states grant their possessor complete unattachment to anything besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as one of the Sufis, they said, love has finished me off, so I have become alive again through Allah. Right? So then a complete dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in i'tikaf and other i'tikaf in their worship, in their life. They died. They had no more. They were almost completely uninterested in the world. It's just like a dead person is. And then they became alive again through Allah, i.e. they interacted again with their family and friends and work and everything with a new intention and a new resolve. Right? And so this is the same thing with one's spouse, a new level of interaction with one's spouse based on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with one's children based on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with one's work, with one's money, etc. So we have just 5 minutes for questions. A question here from Riaz. I had a question regarding the timetables. Are they 100% accurate, such that if you follow a timetable and it says Fajr begins 6 a.m. And you eat at 6 a.m. also is your fast broken? So basically, when it comes to two timetables, there's two issues. We mentioned this, I believe, last week sometime. Number one, you have to use your head a little bit, right? We're all educated, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asked us to use the abilities that we have, right? So Allah doesn't ask you to go and find out, is this hadith abrogated or not? Does hadith mean this? Because it's not my job. I'm not a faqih, and that's not my thing. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does say, well, you have a secondary school education, and you know something about science, you know something about the sun and the moon, etc. So when somebody tells you, for example, Fajr is the same time every single day for the whole of Ramadan, it just sounds funny, doesn't it? Because you know that the sun obviously rises at different times, different things. So if you look at a timetable and it doesn't really make much sense to you, you have to ask. You say, excuse me, how did you put this timetable together? What kind of calculations did you use? Right. So you have to take some level of of ijtihad, so to speak, of your own ijtihad. Look at that thing and say, does it make sense? Number one. Number two, you should as well ask the people who made that this thing. Is this based on a madhab, one of the four madahib, and they say, yeah, this is based on the Hanafi school, or this is based on the Maliki school, or this is based on something like that. Otherwise, we don't really know where it's coming from. Right? So you have to take some responsibility, and other than that, you're not responsible. Right? So if it says 8 o'clock, so take for at least 5-10 minutes before that. Right? So then you ask the question: are they 100% such that if you follow a timetable and it says Fajr begins, for example, and you eat at 6 a.m., i.e., morsel, is your fast broken? If you believe that it's Fajr, yes. If you've looked at the timetable and you honestly think that this is based on sound calculations, and this is correct, then yes. Otherwise, no. But you shouldn't do that. Right? You shouldn't eat at that time. You should eat at least 10 minutes before that. Here, for example, in Jordan, 15 minutes before the adhan of Fajr, there's an adhan of stop eating. They call the adhan and say, everybody stop eating, 15 minutes before that. So even though they're from what I've heard, their timetables are really good. But also, like, one adhan for the whole of Amman is not possible. How can it? It's like there's different times. One side of Amman is not the same as the other side of Amman. There's going to be at least, 30 seconds difference or something like that. Can you say more about how dua affects qadr? So the Prophet ﷺ told us that nothing pushes back, nothing holds back predestination apart from dua, right? And so, what does that mean? It means that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has created us and destined every single thing. Every single thing is predestination. There's nothing you can do about it. However, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has made things in a certain way that no one is wronged. So the fact that you strive to do good, that means things are going to work out for you. If not in this life, then in the next. The qadr is good for you, right? And you strive in making dua, oh Allah forgive me, Allah will forgive you. Oh Allah guide me, you'll be guided and do the right thing, right? As long as you take the active measures. And so dua is part of qadr. Your dua is part of predestination. Your good deeds are part of your resolve to change forever and take the means to do that. It's part of Allah. It's the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote your destiny, right? And so this is how it works, inshallah. So we'll stop here, inshallah, because there is another, Shaykh Abdul Rahim is starting soon. Actually, just one more question, if you have one more question. Okay, we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.